Okay. Hello, my health freedom loving friends and liberty loving patriots. Misty Carlfeld here. I'm actually out of town on vacation, so that's why I've got the beachy vibe and the orange glow of the yellow lights here in my hotel room. But when I heard what happened to Thea, it was this week. Oh my gosh. I just thought we've got to record a video and tell everybody about what's happening because a lot of people don't understand or believe or want to see how CPS treats families and rips them apart and makes stuff up and works within their own system. Of course, the government's never going to find the government guilty, right? They're always going to find the parent guilty of something so that they can keep their child and make money on them every day until they finally adopt them out and make a bonus. So Thea has found herself in the midst of this nightmare uh, by no wrongdoing of her own. So just to catch you all up real quickly, Thea's son Daniel was in Idaho visiting his father. His father didn't have a home, wasn't giving him the medication that he needed, not doing the therapies that he needed, not keeping him in school, and Thea actually was very concerned about her son's whereabouts because she wasn't even able to talk to her son while he was with dad. So when Thea's mother called CPS, concerned about Daniel's welfare, they did find Daniel alone at the library. Where was dad and stepmom? I guess using the library as a babysitter. So the police and CPS rescued Daniel from that bad situation. At that point, they should have just returned him to his mother, Thea, who's in Arizona. She has no history of neglect with Daniel. In fact, quite the opposite. She's been his champion as he has autism. He's on the spectrum. He has special needs, which she has cared for his whole life without any accusation of not being a good mother ever. So why didn't Idaho just return Daniel to Thea? Well, because it's a money-making scheme. They do. They hold the child ransom until Thea jumps through all the hoops that they want her to jump through, even though there's no accusation against her at this point, and in the meantime, keep making money on him, separating him from his mother. So he's confused. He's alone. He has very minimal time to talk to his mother and get any kind of reassurance. And of course, if any of you have a child with autism, you know that they need things to be the same. They need consistency in their life. They need to know that every time they go to the drawer, that's the shirt that they're going to find in that drawer. It needs to be that consistent. And so poor Daniel, his life is completely upside down with no consistency. And now this week, CPS, foster care, schools have taken it to a new low in this case. It all hit Thea in one day. As we know, if you want to go back and watch on Health Freedom Idaho's YouTube channel, Thea has an autoimmune disease. I have an autoimmune disease. I get it. Traveling is hard. It's hard on the body. It's hard on the joints. Now, I'm at the beach location, so I actually feel much better when I'm at the beach level. And I feel way worse. My joints and my body hurt much worse in the mountains. I live in Idaho. So I go to the beach for some respite. Well, it's the same for Thea. She's got to come to Idaho, and going in higher elevation hurts the joints. It's harder on the body. So it's going to take her a little bit to get up here to Idaho, and she's on her way, and she needs funds for that, guys. She certainly didn't plan for or budget for, in this kind of economy, having to pay attorney's fees and travel and a place to stay here in Idaho and have to leave her home in Arizona, which I get it. My home is equipped for my illness. I'm sure your home is equipped for your illness. So everything's an upheaval to try to move your whole self to come to Idaho without any accusation against you at this point. But this week, so that's the backup story, guys. This week, okay, here's the news drop. They have so Thea's attorney, Johan, filed for dismissal. A couple hours later, she finally receives the accusation against her from CPS after they've had her son for how long? This is ridiculous. And then they lost Daniel. I blame the school. I blame foster care parents. I blame the caseworker. See, I blame them all. CPS, I blame you because you ill-equipped everybody that's taking care of Daniel, and you never gave him back to his mother. And if he was back with his mother, this would never have happened. I blame you, Idaho government, all the way down for this. And you know what? You know what, guys? They had the audacity to blame the autistic child for getting lost himself. This is outrageous. They don't even take responsibility when they lose a child, which they're famous for, by the way, all across the nation, losing our children. It's outrageous. So that's a little bit about what's coming. So, okay, Thea, take us through it. Johan files for a motion to dismiss, as he should, because this never should have happened to you.
Yeah, and Missy, I just want to, take a minute to back up and explain that CPS was under the assumption that I was in Idaho. So not only did Dad not do what he was supposed to, he was feeding them information that I wasn't in Idaho when he in fact knew that I had moved to Arizona, and he told them that I was in Idaho. So when they caught me off guard and I was traveling to see my elderly mom that day, when the police called me and said they removed Daniel, I was in shock. I had no idea that CPS had been involved with Daniel and his dad for, I guess, since April of this year. No one had contacted me or told me exactly what was going on. And I just want to preface that. So here I am, yes, in another state. And so, fast forward, I get an attorney. I'm thankful for the donations that assisted with me doing that. Absolutely. Because honestly, some parents aren't in that situation or well equipped financially to be able to say, hey, and we've talked about how the system works. The attorneys that are given to you are paid by the same organization that basically removes these children. And so, yes, my attorney did file a motion to dismiss on Thursday morning. A few hours later, I got an official accusation that I did not give Daniel mental health and education, which I just want to interject here. I am NAMI certified. That is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. And, a lot of people don't know my background. I have gone way and above and beyond to help my children. And from anywhere from health to illness to mental illness to education. And it just really irritates me because Health and Welfare also knows that I was vetted by Consumer Direct, who paid to help me be a community service worker, community social worker, in helping children and adults that are on the spectrum or need special needs. So I'm not just your average person that walks in and they're up against a fight with me. And I hope they watch this and I hope they hear this, that from day one, I told them they were in pure neglect. So when I asked for a court continuance, it was to kind of assess the situation. And I told them then, let me fly Daniel back. I'll pay for him to fly back. Just get him to the airport. And all of this could have been avoided. Daniel could have already been in school. He could have already been in therapy. He could have been already assessed if he needed medication or a change in medication through my benefits, my military benefits. And so, yeah, I'm just like all over the map because it has been quite a whirlwind since I got the call. So Thursday morning filed for dismissal. I wasn't a part of this. I wasn't around. Dad cut communications off. I've got tons of evidence and proof. I even hired a private investigator to find them. Then after the motion to dismiss, a few hours later, I get an email from Health and Welfare, the caseworker, that I get this official letter now. And the date is on there and the timestamp is on there from the email. Then I get a call at 4:30 my time in the afternoon, which is 5:40 something Idaho time, that Daniel's first day of school, he is routed on a bus and he has no idea where to get off. So I'll back up 2 days prior. I was on a video call with Daniel and he was crying and upset. He was moving. He had to leave where he was to go to a foster family so that 2 days later he could go to school. So this all happened in a span of a few days. And he was upset. He met some friends. He had to leave those friends. And mind you, change is hard. And
Right.
change is hard for everybody, but
Right.
kids with special needs, they need a solid routine. So I get a call on Thursday afternoon. Daniel has been on the bus for approximately, I tried to look at all the timestamps and assess what's going on. 3 hours, almost 3 hours. I thought
Oh
at
my
first
God.
it was two. And I started, after the shock wore off, of course, I started that processing part of my brain, which is I'm still recovering from the stroke. So I'm so much better, but I had to process everything what was going on and looking at, the timestamps and emails and my phone stamps. And I'm like, wait a minute. And then I get an email saying that it was all Daniel's fault from two people, his caseworker and the supervisor. And I'm thinking to myself, I have to get to Idaho. I have to go get Daniel. This has got to stop because, you know, I got a call from the Brown bus company and they say, your son is still on the bus and the bus driver's on his second route and he's at some school that I don't even know where they're at. And they have two addresses on file. And I'm like, no, the first one is not my address. Please never drop him off at that address. That's where I used to live. And the second one was something else. And I'm like, I have no idea whose address that is. So do not send him where I do not know. Let me call the Nampa police or the sheriffs and let me find out if I can get him in somebody else's care that made sense to me because I don't have any family there that could just go pick him up. And
Okay.
my initial thought was, oh my God, let me get in my car and go pick him up. And then it hit
Right.
me, I'm more than, 12, 13 hours away. How is that even possible? And that was my whole thought process. Just get in the car and go pick him up.
Right.
Right.
Of course. Of course. Let's back up a little bit though,
Sure.
because people might not understand. So what's happened is it's his first day of school and he has an IEP, correct?
Yes,
And
he
so the
does.
IEP should then communicate to the school what he needs. And
Yeah.
really, the caseworker should understand an IEP. The foster parent should understand an IEP. The school, the teachers, everybody involved with Daniel, which already irritates me because it shouldn't take all of this taxpayer money for Daniel. It shouldn't have all this upset, for Daniel and his family because he shouldn't be involved at all in the Idaho, foster care CPS system. He should be at home with his mother. But here's where we are because of the inadequate and money hungry a CPS system in Idaho, for profit, mind you. He's in this system, and it's just maddening. But everybody involved with Daniel should understand that he has an IEP and he has these needs. Now, Thea already explained to me that at home he has a guide. So the guide stays with him all day, correct, Thea?
No, he doesn't stay. The guy doesn't stay with him all day. And we had an IEP meeting when CPS learned that Daniel was not in school. Dad put him in school for the last 3 or 4 weeks of the school year last year. And what happened is that in this IEP meeting, Dad was taking Daniel back and forth to school, from what I understand. Now, that may not be right because then I was told that he was riding the bus where Dad was to the school. And mind you, Daniel has always ridden a special needs bus if a parent did not pick him up or drop him off. So he has people at the schools that are in special, he has a special class, then he goes to some regular classes and then goes back to his class for hands-on assistance. So that guide would walk him to the bus. And mind you, this is the first day of school in a highly populated high school. And they blame him for getting on the wrong bus when in fact, I believe in my heart, he didn't know what bus to get on. And
Well, of
then when the
course.
bus driver asked him, where do you get off? I have no idea, because this is the first day of school, the first bus ride ever with no assistance. And also the first time being dropped off at a home for foster care that he has no idea where it really is. He's not driving. He doesn't recognize the streets or anything or his way home.
Oh my
He doesn't have that capability yet to process and understand, hey, I just get on the bus and I know they drop me right off at my house, or they drop me right off where my mom's picking me up at the end of the road, or, you know, and that's the whole debacle, is who was responsible for making sure that Daniel got on the right bus? Well, it was CPS. It was also CPS's understanding that his transportation needs weren't addressed in this whole process of, oh, let's move him on Tuesday from out of one place to another place. And they dropped the ball completely. I still believe in my mind they don't believe he's special needs when he's been special needs forever. And I'm like, you guys have got to look at his IEPs. You have to understand what Daniel's needs are. And then they send him to school with no glasses. So on top of that, he may not even be able to see the bus numbers from a distance. And then he gets on a bus full of kids, a high school, mind you, that he's used to only being on a bus with 3 or 4 people besides himself. So that overstimulation, and then the bus driver asking him, where do you get off? I don't know. Where do you live? I don't know. He was telling them the truth. He doesn't know. So, I had to calm myself down when I get this call from the supervisor at Brown Bus. And so I call the police and report what's going on. They're going to send an officer to the school. I'm going to call the school bus, supervisor back and tell her, hey, take Daniel back to his original school. And then the school resource officer was called by dispatch to make sure somebody was there to keep an eye on him and meet him, because I could only imagine him outside alone and not knowing where everyone is. And here I am telling him, let the adults handle this, we'll take care of it. Well, the adults that are responsible can't take care of this. They haven't been able to be accountable or responsible.
Oh my gosh.
So I tangent on that. But so the police officer, the school resource officer, and the bus driver goes back to the school. They all meet up, and then I was told CPS was on site, because I immediately, after the call from Brown Bus, I immediately emailed my attorney, emailed CPS. I couldn't believe what was going on. And of course, the mama in me is like, oh my God, my child is left unattended. And it was just dumbfounded. I always have my eyes on him. I've never left him out of my sight. We didn't even leave him home alone, because he just doesn't have that sense of security to be alone. And we were slowly working towards that. He's 14. He's a teenager. We were slowly working for that. And even when I worked part-time and full-time at 14, 13, 14, he still had a caregiver. I paid for, him to be watched, even though I had to go back to work. So, it's
And
just
so you
heart-wrenching.
see
So
these.
then the policeman actually took him and gave him a ride to the foster family's home, which from what I understand, they weren't even looking for him or wondering where he was. I haven't gotten the full story on that end, but then I get the emails that Daniel was not under any stress, and he didn't, it's his fault, and not from one person, but from 2 people, the supervisor of all people. And then, you know, I talked to Daniel on Friday, just a couple days ago, and he was frustrated. He was frustrated. I asked him, I wanted to ask him, how was your first day of school? And I just said, look, I know your first day of school wasn't that great, but, did everything work out okay? And yeah. And I even called the school on Friday afternoon before school got out and said, and made sure that Daniel had some assistance to get on the right bus, that he would be prepped and know where to go. So nobody has responded back to me saying that they made arrangements to him to be on the special needs bus or whatever, because somebody dropped the ball.
So, and just to backtrack, you said he's 14, but what would you say his mentality age is?
I was told professionally he's probably around 8 or 9, and as he grows, that'll kind of hopefully catch up. But he's not your average 14-year-old hanging out alone, doing whatever, into mischief. He's not your average teenager. He is a really good-hearted, loving child, and nurturing him to be a young man. And some of these children need more. They need more patience and more time with the caregivers that are caring for them. And some people aren't just cut out to make sure that they're getting those needs met. I- I've gone even to have my other children take classes in how to handle autistic children, because his own sisters, I had them do this to understand that he thinks differently. He needs different things. Protect your personal space. He might not look at you when you talk to him, but I always use the word focus, right? And he does. So there are things that we have learned over the years that, yes, they say he's high functioning, and I really don't like when anybody puts anybody in a category low functioning or high functioning. But we have, as a community within our own family, with my daughters and him, have actually helped him focus and do more things than the average autistic child with these needs. And it
I,
blows my mind that he can't communicate what his needs are. We have to pull it out of him. We have to prompt him.
right. I can always tell. I've spoken at Autism One several times, and I've gotten to know those families. I've even spent time with those families in their homes, and I've always been um, able to see. I shouldn't say always. I guess that all taught me how I can tell if an autistic child is coming from a loving home, who's patient with them, who's teaching them social cues and how to handle their frustrations. Because all the parents that go to Autism One are really, really trying, and they're trying to learn everything that they can get their hands on, like you. And the young man that you're describing reminds me of my friends who have done all they can, like you have, to really help their children and give them all the possible advantages. Now, I've seen autistic children whose parents aren't doing what you're doing, and they're frustrated, and it's hard to see, because I know that their lives could be better if they had parents that knew enough to seek enough and try harder, do everything that they could do to make their lives better. So I know exactly what you're talking about, because I've seen it with my other friends and their children and their sweetness. But that's when they're not frustrated, right? Um, I can only imagine how his behavior must be changed in this situation that he's found himself in. And I
Oh,
really hope that the foster parents are able to keep their patience, because I have heard stories where foster parents lose their patience because they're not trained and equipped like you've done for yourself and your daughters, and then they end up taking their frustration out on the child, who is the innocent party in all of this nonsense. Like you said, the adults should be doing better.
yeah, and I really believe in my heart that stepmom was not capable of handling the situation very well. And, dad was put in a really sticky spot, like a lot of parents are that, unfortunately divorce and remarry. Um, and that was a concern for me also. But, we do the best we can in this situation. But, and something that I really, really got me irritated the other day is, Daniel said that he was going to the fair with his step family, his foster family or whatever. And anyways, I told him just to make good choices and try not to drink too much sugar and eat too much junk, right? Because that does affect the child with ADHD, and he does. In
It
other
affects all
areas.
children. It affects adults.
And
Let's be real.
yeah, even when we go on road trips, I would make him go get a cucumber and cut it up for a snack, or pick some, fresh berries. And that's what we do on road trips. We don't stop and eat junk food and grab sodas and stuff like that. And, once in a while it's fine, but we don't typically do
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
And, you figure out what works best for children and their behaviors. So I was questioned by CPS. Why would I tell Daniel something like that? And I'm like, sugar affects him. He will get overstimulated and crash, and then his behavior will change. He'll get short-tempered and irritated, and, you know, with or without any medication. And I believe he's still not taking medication. He will have meltdowns if he doesn't uh, feel, if you feel strongly about something, and he will be really irritated. And I mean, one of the massive things that we did when we would leave the house is, when we come back home, we have a 20-minute timeout for everyone to readjust. Or if you come home from school, we've got 20 minutes, and it's a personal timeout just to kind of get back into the home environment, and kind of adjust and come back, especially if we've been out and had a meltdown, or something went wrong, or he didn't like the, way that we would say, no, you can't drink that soda. We know what soda does to us, and it gets us a little upset and irritated. Oh yeah, you're right. Let's just avoid that altogether. So, we drink infused water, fresh berries from the garden with a little bit of cucumber and lemon. We do alternative things that I know that are beneficial for him and myself and our family. But I just, I'm a little frustrated myself, and I just knew that, in the situation that I'm in with my health, my son needs me, and he's
Yeah.
going to have to come first. And so we are headed, to go visit. I don't know what's going to happen. We do have court on the 31st, but like I said, my attorney did file a motion to dismiss. But Misty, on Thursday, my heart was just, I didn't have anyone to go immediately pick him up. I didn't have my husband that could go pick him up. My ex-husband couldn't go pick him up because he's in foster, was supposed to be in foster care. And just was dumbfounded how all this could have happened. But I made the decision that we're going to go out there. We're going to go and we're going to pick Daniel up. They're going to release him to me, and he'll be able to come home. And I had him going to start an online charter program for autism. And I wasn't able to get him in that because he wasn't home. He had to be in Arizona. So I had a backup plan, and he'll be homeschooled under that plan. But I said, enough nonsense. I'm coming to pick up my son. And
Right. Well, and people
they
might not
had the
know.
audacity to tell me, well, do you need me to pay an air flight, or do you need a lodging, or do you need gas money? We can reimburse you for gas money. This is CPS telling me this after they've been withholding my son, obviously negligent. And that's when I really got ticked off, because for me, this is not about money. This is about my son's well-being, that they have just, they're in neglect.
Right.
CPS
Well, they've stolen your son, and now they're
is in
neglecting
pure
him and
neglect.
saying it's his fault. So ridiculous.
Absolutely. They're blaming a special needs child because they know that they messed up. They
Yeah.
didn't follow what his needs are. It
Right.
it just, it blows my mind. And I can see how, I don't know if they're case overload or this and that, but I think CPS needs to do a better job of, you know, deciding which child they're going to take next.
Yeah. Well,
Because
they
they,
need to absolutely be defunded and ended.
yeah. Oh, well, yeah, I would agree to that too. But, they pick the wrong family
Mm, yeah.
to be messed with.
Right.
And I would have never been pulled into all this mess. Um, had Daniel's needs been met, but they were being met from what I understand. So dad did have a place to live and Daniel was in school. They took him on July 6th, was summer break.
I thought he was homeless. I thought that was the whole thing. He was living in hotels.
He was living in hotels at the time CPS got involved. CPS actually helped him stay in hotels until dad had found a place. Dad wasn't able to find a place. Um, from what I understand and what I'm learning now is
Okay.
that dad may have had somewhere to go, but that um, didn't happen. It's some program in that was started in Idaho for families that were affected by COVID to actually that had children that were displaced. A new apartment community or something over by the hospital at St. Al's was
Oh.
made for that, specific for children in the Nampa school district that didn't have a roof over their head.
Oh, interesting.
So
I didn't hear about that. So this must be kind of new
yeah,
information that he did actually have a place to go and
well,
CPS took him anyway.
he was trying to get in there and then something happened to where they weren't approved. So that's when CPS went and picked up Daniel and got the police to declare him in imminent danger. But just because you're homeless doesn't mean
I
that
agree
the
with you.
child is in any danger. And dad was waiting for counseling for Daniel. I guess the counselor was on some type of vacation and he had a really hard time finding a mental counselor. So, a matter of timing, availability, and I know and I understand that mental health has just increased
Yeah.
400% across the nation. And getting a therapist is really hard, especially for a child with special needs. There's should be some priority list um, for
Well, the fact
people
of the
who
matter is
really need
dad
it.
should have gotten him home to you anyway. Dad
Absolutely.
should have
That
gotten
was,
him home to you
yes,
where he
you're
has everything he
absolutely
needs.
right. You're
And CPS
absolutely
should have
right.
gotten him home to you where he has everything he needs. I mean, the fact of the matter
Absolutely
is his
correct.
needs should come first, regardless of all this other, whatever, whatever. Like that's dad's problem and his thing to figure out.
Right.
But Daniel doesn't have to be caught up in the mess of that because he had a great home with you.
Right. And that's exactly why I kept telling dad, send him to me. I'll pay the plane ticket. He just refused. So you're absolutely right, though. This, they should have never withheld Daniel from me. CPS should have got him on the airplane direct to me. And like I told you, I was willing to pay for it. And they just said that they were unable to return him to me.
Well, and what I wanted to say a little bit ago is that you've been recovering from a stroke. So you had a stroke due to all this stress. And I'm honestly surprised more parents don't have a stroke. I'm hearing from parents who then have their children returned, that then their health fails because it's like the body gives everything it can to the high stress situation of getting back your child, getting back your child, getting back your child, and then you finally do, and the stress alleviates, and then the parents' health can really tank. I mean, I've been hearing really crazy stories about that because you just live in that fight or flight mode for so long, typically about 15 months, and then you just give out. Well, for you already had health issues. So with the increased stress, you get this stroke and you've been recovering. I mean, people can go back and watch the videos from the first time I videoed you and your speech was much slower and you've really recovered. So, but you've had to recover
Yeah.
yourself before you could get
Yeah.
back up here and help and get, to get Daniel back, trying to
And
do everything so far with
I
attorneys.
I just don't have time. I mean, honestly, this is like the most time sensitive situation that I've ever been in. And the more time that I wait, the longer that they're going to drag this out and
Yeah.
make this debacle even worse.
Yeah.
And I do have a piece about this, and I am being very, very cautious of my autoimmune issues and the stroke recovery. And
Yeah.
I'm being very cautious to make sure that I don't have too much stress. I am a little stressed about having to travel because I won't be able to go to physical therapy. I am a little stressed about the elements and the altitude. But you know what? I have to be there, and I'm sure that, I just have to push on and not put myself under too much stress. And I've already made the decision. These people are absolutely irresponsible,
Yeah.
unequipped to handle him, and I've had enough. I
Well,
have to
God's
do
got you.
something.
God's got you and God's got Daniel. We'll be praying with you. But just to touch back on something that you touched on at the beginning, Johan filed a motion to dismiss, which makes sense. And then, like 2 hours later, you get an email from CPS saying that they now have these charges against you. So I can't, because I don't have the double screen, I can't pull it up for people to see it. But what were the accusations against you now after all this time?
That I neglected to get his mental help, and I neglected education.
And where are they getting this information from? Because you haven't really talked to you haven't given them any information. So where are they getting this information from for these accusations?
I believe even possibly dad. That's what they're saying that dad is accused of, that they've put us both on this accusation and neglect, and something about level 2, which I am really upset about. Um, you know, I have had some of the most um, responsible jobs, my career, responsible care for children, my own and others. And for me to find out that they're going to put me on some list or registry just blew my mind. And I'm like, how does that affect my future? I've been, at a young age, a manager in high school, my junior and senior year of high school. I've gone to private schools my entire life, except for high school. And then, I joined the military, a top secret background, and doing things not the average person doesn't do in the military, to working at Fortune 5 companies in the United States, and having a civil service background in a career, and using my top secret clearance, and really having a lot of integrity in my life, to find out that I could be put on some type of registry that could affect if I ever wanted to work in a contracted position, or and I'm just saying that's like an attack on my integrity and what I believe in. And I am a veteran. I swore to defend the Constitution, both foreign or domestic. And this to me is like domestic terrorism against me, because of my beliefs and what I share as a freedom, individual. Um, and then it just does. I can't even wrap my mind around, I'm a good tax-paying citizen. Why would they even, target me? I feel that we are being targeted. Daniel was alone in the library. They may have had, social workers in there. It to me, this doesn't make sense why they would be so hard pressed to, um, you know, take a fight with me, honestly,
Yeah. Right.
because like I said, I've been a community service worker, vetted by health and welfare. I've had a NAMI certification. It's just, I've gone above and beyond being, a mother and a American citizen and a veteran. And why would anybody want to just, you know, take my child is beyond me.
So, how long have they had him now?
Since July 6th,
That's the point I wanted to make. Since July 6th. And she's just now on, what was it, Thursday? Had an accusation against you.
August 18th. Yep. And you know what even
Almost a
blows my
month.
mind more is that we had an adjudicatory hearing on August 1st. He should have been returned, but
Right.
the state wanted to continue that court date because Judge Tucker was not available.
Right. Right. Well, you guys, I'm going to sign off for now, but I wanted everybody to get this update about Daniel. I mean, Thea and Daniel need your prayers, you guys, big time. Thea's going to be traveling. Um, Daniel's life has been turned upside down, and he's the victim in all of this, and he's done nothing wrong. So they need your prayers, guys. Safe travels, and protection for Thea and her body and her autoimmune and protection for Daniel. They also need funds. And I was just looking at your fundraising website, which we'll attach here. And it really blessed my heart to see all these $10 donations. And I saw some $100 donations. And that's exactly right. Like I know the economy is tough right now, and gas prices are high, and Thea can't fly. They're going to have to drive, and that's going to be, a lot of money in gas as well. So every $5 or $10 helps, and $100 certainly helps. More than $100 certainly helps. And it's so sad. I mean, it's so very unfortunate that our tax money is being used against us, and then we've got to pool more money together and as a community and help each other out to fight the system that we're funding with our taxes. It's absolutely absurd, but that's the state that we're in until we can change it. So if you could please help Thea out and continue to pay for her attorney, Johan. I'm so glad you have a private attorney who can go to battle for you, friend, because definitely the state-funded attorneys, they don't go to battle for you. They just, play the game and make it seem like they're helping you, but they're not. Johan's done a great job in other cases, so I'm confident he'll do a great job for you.
And can I just say how awesome he is? He is absolutely amazing. The minute he got my email about Daniel being on the bus, he immediately got on the phone with the attorney at Health and Welfare. Immediately. You know, I can't say more enough about and praise him that he takes immediate action. And I'm just so impressed with how well he has handled this situation. I know he's disheartened about this whole thing, and I can feel his frustration, but he has been top-notch professional in this situation.
That's another prayer request, guys. Johan is going out on a limb pushing against CPS. And we've seen over and over and over what happens to people when they go against CPS, the Department of Health and Welfare, and really fight the battle that he's fighting. So if you all could add him to your prayer list, I think he would greatly appreciate that as well. Well, Thea, I hope you have safe travels, friend. I'm looking
Thank
forward
you.
to meeting you in person. Maybe the next video we're doing together in person.
Absolutely. Hopefully we'll have some amazing good news. And that's what we're praying for, that's what we're asking for, and that's what we're believing in.
So, so the motion to dismiss, will the judge decide on that before August 31st, or will that be heard August 31st?
I don't know at this point, but I'm hoping it will be heard ASAP. And on a side note, we did ask for I think it's a home study in Arizona, but because of the situation, no one has reached out to me about that yet. No one has asked me to do that from the CPS side. So I'm going to Idaho with the intention to have that judge dismiss this and bring Daniel back with me.
Okay, sounds good. Well, if August 31st is the date, we could put together a event and try to get people there too for your support.
I
So
so appreciate everyone.
we'll be looking for that, everyone. And Thea, God bless you, friend. And I hope that you can continue to recover and stay well, because Daniel needs you the most right now, more than he's probably ever needed you.
Absolutely.
Okay, take care, friend, and goodbye to all. We'll see you next time.